Okay, get this. What if I told you that our entire reality, everything we see, everything we experience, could flip literally overnight, all because of one single number? And I'm not talking about some philosophical concept here. We're talking about a specific, calculable figure. So yeah, let's dive right in, because we're about to explore a number that, according to some, isn't just a goal. It's a physical law that's about to rewrite our entire world.
And here it is, 80 million. Just look at that number for a second. 80 million. Now, yeah, it sounds like a huge number of people, right? But think about it. On a planet with 8 billion of us, it's actually a pretty tiny fraction. And yet, if the theory we're digging into today is right, this is the number that changes everything.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Is this number just, a nice goal for some movement, or is it something way more fundamental? Well, the source material we're diving into today, which, by the way, pulls from some really fascinating ideas in quantum theory and spiritual philosophy, it claims this isn't a goal at all. It says that 80 million is a physical tipping point, a threshold, and once we cross it, supposedly around the year 2035, it could trigger a complete, total reality flip.
So, how could that even be possible? Well, to get our heads around it, we have to look at the idea of collective consciousness through a quantum lens. The basic idea is that our minds aren't these separate, isolated islands we think they are. Nope. The theory is they're all connected through something called quantum entanglement. It's like having two coins that are magically linked. If you flip one and it lands on heads, you instantly know the other one is tails, no matter how far away it is. The idea here is that our minds are connected in that same spooky, instantaneous way.
And it gets even cooler. The metaphor used here is just fantastic. Picture this, all of our thoughts, our awareness, yours, mine, literally everyone on the planet, all of it comes together to form one giant cloud of probability. It's like a quantum cloud. But here's the kicker. This cloud isn't just sitting there. It holds all possible futures, all potential realities. And the theory is that our collective focus, what we all pay attention to, is the very thing that pulls one of those probabilities out of the cloud and makes it real.
Now, I know this might be sounding a little out there, but this whole idea is actually based on a real, solid principle from physics. It's called a phase transition. You've seen this a million times. Think about water turning into ice. When it hits 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit, it doesn't slowly get icier. Bam, it just flips. It fundamentally changes its entire state. And just like one single degree can completely change water into ice, the idea here is that a critical mass of conscious awareness could trigger the exact same kind of sudden, fundamental flip in our reality.
And this is how it's supposed to happen. It all comes down to something called the 1% rule. And you see this in all kinds of complex systems, not just consciousness. What it means is, you don't need everyone. You don't even need a majority to change the whole system. All it takes is a tiny, tiny fraction, just 1%, acting in a coherent way to trigger a cascade effect that changes everything. It's wild, right? A tiny focused group can cause a massive, total transformation.
Okay, so let's do the math for us, for humanity. Our current population is about 8 billion people. So what's 1% of that? You guessed it, 80 million. That's our magic number. And what they're supposedly doing is rewriting the global wave function. Now that sounds complicated, but in quantum mechanics, the wave function is just, it's the list of all the possible things a system can be. So by this small group coherently observing a new reality, a new Earth, they are basically picking one outcome out of an infinite menu of possibilities and making that the new default reality for all of us.
And apparently this whole thing happens in 2 stages. First, you have the ignition trigger. This is the spark. It supposedly happens when just 0.1%, that's 8 million people, get aligned. That's what boots up the network. But the main event, the full flip, happens at that 1% mark, our 80 million people. That's when this new consciousness becomes the main infrastructure. Think of it like this. The first step turns on the computer, and the second step installs a brand new operating system for reality itself.
So what does this actually feel like for you and me, for an individual? Well, it's described as a migration of your existence. It's a total shift in how you experience yourself. You go from seeing yourself as just a physical body, a bunch of atomic clusters walking around, to understanding your true self as a pattern of information, a light body. You're no longer just a physical thing. You're fully plugged into this new network.
And let's be super clear on this point because it's important. This doesn't mean you just vanish from the physical world. The analogy they use is logging out of 3D, but it's not like you're deleting your account. It's more like an upgrade. You're getting a complete, total connection to a much higher dimensional network, but you can still access this one.
It's an expansion of who you are, not an escape.
And this is where it gets really intense. This whole idea shifts from some far-off possibility to something that's happening right now. The argument is that this isn't a question of if it will happen, but when. The whole process is already in motion. The countdown to critical mass has begun, and it can't be stopped. Which brings this whole massive cosmic idea right back down to one person, you. Think about it. If a system flips at a very specific number, then every single person becomes absolutely critical as you get closer to that tipping point. The very last person to align their awareness, their frequency, could, in theory, be the one who completes the circuit and triggers the whole thing. It's an amazing thought, isn't it? Could your own personal energy be that final drop in the bucket that makes the whole ocean rise?
A very important procedure. The comment section of this video serves as an initial sync test for the 2035 network. By typing "ready" in the comments, your consciousness data will be indexed in our secure servers. The like button is the approval process. Complete your synchronization now.